What is up, everyone? Please take a second and hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. So please hit that like button. Let me know how you're doing. And happy freedom. Alright, hooligans. So I'm cutting it close because I'm late. I'm always late. We are waiting for this press briefing to start any minute. I figured it would happen later in the show, but because I'm late, it may be how we start. Kareen is about to hop on stage any minute now. Technically, she's 4 minutes late to work. But on the lineup today, other than the White House press briefing, we're going to cover a video on DeSantis as he defends the ban of AP African American Studies courses in Florida. Then we're going to cover the shooting that happened in Half Moon Bay yesterday, leaving 7 people killed in two related shootings. Then we're going to watch a video on MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, going after Antifa. Then we're going to watch a short video talking about CNN making excuses for Antifa, and we're also going to hear from a former Antifa commie. Then we're going to watch a video talking about classified documents found at Mike Pence's home. There's just classified documents everywhere. I'm starting to check my rooms, like, is there classified documents here? Like, holy. Then we're going to be wrapping things up today with a video and an article talking about the world's first parallel reality experience and how it is engaging with departing and connecting Delta customers here in Michigan in the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. So that's what's on the lineup today. Since Kareen's not on stage yet, we could probably get around this DeSantis video. But first, I'm going to read through the chat, make sure everything's working correctly, and see how my happy hooligans are doing. Well, there must be quite a few here. I can't even get to the top of the chat to say who was first today. What's up, Mike Drop? What's up, Kirk? What's up, MT Coiner? What's up, Shanti? What's up, Garrett? What's up, Sawdog? Happy freedom. What's up, Red? What's up, Cali Unknown? What is this? Son of Liberty. Appreciate you being here. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Heaven Mag? What's up, Shirley? What's up, Proud Ankle? Appreciate all you guys being here. What's up, Kelly K? Happy freedom, all of you hooligans. How many of you guys caught me live last night playing the game? I had my first live yesterday on JeffMAC Gaming, playing the game, getting killed, and just being terrible. But it's kind of interesting to recharge my batteries on camera. It was mildly humorous, I think. Either way. What's up, everyone, on JeffMAC Live YouTube channel? What's up, Toy Mafia? What's up, everyone on Twitch? I don't know if we're shadow banned on Twitch or what, but no one ever comes to Twitch anymore. I don't know what that's about. Red, you're omnipresent. I'm gonna DM you later. Just a heads up. I was gonna reach out to you yesterday and I forgot. What's up, everyone on Odyssey? What's up, Lucci? What's up, Rasta? What's up, Serum? What's up, everyone on Rumble? Appreciate you guys watching on a free speech platform. Red, you're omnipresent. Why do I sound so monotone and boring right now? And I ain't got no coffee. It's gonna be a hard day. What's up, Jonathan? What's up, Donna Sparks? What's up, Anthony? Happy freedom, you hooligans. Appreciate you guys being here. What's up, everyone on Facebook? All right, so let me check on Kareen real quick. And if she's not on stage, I think we're gonna go ahead and watch this video. This video is only 1.5 minutes, so I think we can squeeze it in. Yeah, Kareen's not on stage yet, so let's get her started. Hooligans, drop some ones in the chat to let me know that you're ready. I'm going to start the video, cut the camera, get the coffee, and be back before it's over. That's the plan. Heaven Mag, I have to wait till it hits mobile. I'm pre-registered. What's up, Kevin? Let's see, Snooks, I watched some. It was fun. Oh, yeah, Snooks, you were there. You were there. Yeah. What's up, The Truth? What's up, Lioness? Happy Freedom. What's up, Robert? All right, I'm seeing the ones in the chat. Let's get her started. What's up, Lefty Lucy?
Okay. Yes, sir.
AP African American Studies course that was rejected by the state. Been a lot of criticism of that move. People saying, you know, this is exactly what we were fearing with the individual freedom bill. I don't know if you or the commissioner could maybe expand a little bit more about.
Sure. I mean, I think so. You know, as you know, in the state of Florida, our education standards not only don't prevent, but they require teaching Black history, all the important things. That's part of our core curriculum. This was a separate course on top of that for advanced placement credit. And the issue is we have guidelines and standards in Florida. We want education, not indoctrination. If you fall on the side of indoctrination, we're going to decline. If it's education, then we will do this course. So when I heard it didn't meet the standards, I figured, yeah, they may be doing serious. It's way more than that. This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids. And so when you look to see they have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons, that's a political agenda. And so that's the wrong side of the line for Florida standards. We believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them. When you try to use Black history to shoehorn in queer theory, you are clearly trying to use that for political purposes. Yes, ma'am.
Over the past 6 months, we have been...
Those ads are so aggressive. So aggressive. You can't even pause them or mute them or nothing. Holy. It's like harassment. Well, what do you guys think about that? I mean, we kind of have heard stuff like this over the last few years, how political agendas are slipping into the elementary schools, books and lesson planning and stuff like that. And a lot of those people have the same kind of education as people making your Big Mac at McDonald's. They don't know anything. I was actually talking with someone yesterday about this because there was a post on Twitter. I'm like heavily active on Twitter, so if you guys have Twitter, you should follow me on Twitter because I get down on Twitter. But there was a post yesterday showing a drawn image, for lack of a better phrase, of third parties, and this is an elementary book, and it was depicting sexual acts of third parties. We'll say that, third parties, you know, boy, girl, third party. Yeah, like some confusing things. This is all considered, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get a strike for this. I'm trying to think how to do this. But yeah, these books are slipping into the elementary school that is perverting the minds of children through brainwashing and stuff. And this is all a political agenda. And when I see these posts, everybody in the comments is like, oh, how could teachers do this? How could this happen? Blah, blah. What do you mean? A box comes from the government, comes to the desk of the school. Tammy here at the desk grabs the box and says, hey, why don't you call Cheryl, come down from the library, get this box. I cracked it open. It's got books in it. Books go to the library. Call the librarian, have her grab the books, take them to the library. Ooh, it sounds like press briefing starting. Shirley comes down, gets the box of books, goes to the library, goes, oh, this book starts with M. Let's put it with M. Oh, this one starts with an F. Let's put it with F. They don't read the books. They don't know. They're just trying to make it through their 8 hours and get out with their $10 an hour job and try to, you know, make enough money to get some groceries at the end of the week. They don't care. They don't know. They're just doing their job like everyone else, living in this trashed world we're living in right now. And I think that's how the books come in, because people care about their job the same across the board from what I've experienced. Working in restaurants as a dishwasher, I was working with the same mentality as I was when I was working in a factory where we were building parts of cars that if they fail, you'll probably die in your vehicle. And that sounds really serious, but at the same time, we were cutting corners and, hey, manager, look the other way so we can just push these parts through really quick without checking the quality. That's how everything is ran. That's how the government's ran. That's how everything is ran. But if we don't start opening our eyes and becoming more proactive, they're going to hurt our kids, and we can't let that happen. So that's why we're shining light on a video like that. We're going to be moving to the press briefing that it sounds like it has started already. Oh, we're right on time. KJP's not even on stage yet. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. More likes, more hooligans, and share this out. This press briefing is live.
Eric Garland?
Yes. Unfortunately, he's got his own helpful counter programmer. Everyone.
I tried both mechanical.
By the way, if you're not a part of Gilded, Discord, or Telegram, you should be, because then you'll receive notifications for when and where we go live every single time we go live. Don't rely on YouTube or any other communist platform to let you know when the truth is speaking.
I always hear like comments when I walk out. It's always so funny. All right, good afternoon, everyone. For the second time in recent days, a California community has been devastated by a mass shooting, and families are mourning loved ones lost to a senseless act of gun violence. As some of the victims' families have said, we are starting Lunar New Year broken. To read their stories is indeed heartbreaking. Stories like the 65-year-old who went to the dance studio in Monterey Park on weekends because it's what she loved to do. And tragically, her family said that Saturday was her last dance. We've read moving tributes for the former dance student who helped manage the studio from his fellow dancers and his teachers. A grandmother whose family described how hard she worked to give back to her community and care for her loved ones died after being taken to the hospital in critical condition. We have mourned lives lost in mass shootings after mass shootings. The flags at the White House were already at half-mast in honor of those murdered in Monterey Park when we learned of the shooting in Half Moon Bay. President Biden, like most Americans, believes that this is an urgent issue, that too many of our neighbors, colleagues, kids are losing their lives to gun violence. Over the last 2 decades, more school-aged children have died from guns than on-duty police officer and active duty military combined. And we know what the policy solutions are. We know how we can address this. In fact, last night, Senator Feinstein, alongside Senators Murphy, Blumenthal, and others, reintroduced a federal assault weapons and high-capacity magazine ban and legislation that would raise the minimum purchase age for assault weapons to 21. The last time
Criminals don't follow the law, idiot. Thank you so much, Big Fella, for gifting 10 memberships over on YouTube. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Big Fella.
After Republicans let it expire, mass shootings tripled.
Make sure you guys thank Big Fella. Those memberships aren't free.
As you all know, President Biden has taken historic executive action to reduce gun violence, and last summer he signed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first significant piece of gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years. But he continues to believe, and these tragic events continue to show us, there is more to be done.
Oh, we got Garth Hands today.
safe.
Doing the sign
The
language.
First Lady are thinking of those killed and injured in these latest shootings across America, but more importantly, he's urging both chambers of Congress to act quickly and deliver this assault weapons ban to his desk and take additional action to keep American communities, schools, workplace, and homes safe. I also wanted to share exciting news about President economic plan continuing to create results for Americans across the country. Today, we learned 38 states are now at or below 4% unemployment, and states from Pennsylvania to South Dakota to Alaska have record low unemployment. We also know a record 10.7 million jobs were created in the last 2 years. Annual inflation has fallen over the last 6 months. The economy grew at 3.2% in the most recent GDP report, and a record 10.5 million small businesses applications were filed since the president.
Why is she dressed like Edgar Allan Poe?
Continuing to lower healthcare costs for Americans. A new report shows that if
Cool guy. She's got green and orange on. Is she the Joker?
in 2020, 1.5 million senators across the country could have saved an average.
She's got a Civil War reenactment LARPing event going on later.
Reduction Act's health provisions, including permanent affordable care act subsidies and Medicare negotiations Medicare negotiating down certain prescription drugs, mean more money in Americans' pockets and more breathing room for American families. As the president said in a statement this morning, and I quote, "Americans are seeing a strong economy where they live. They are seeing their neighbors back to work with higher wages, even accounting for inflation. They're seeing prices down at their pharmacies. They're seeing new businesses opening, with most Americans applying to start small businesses at any time on record," end quote. And finally, I wanted to say hello and welcome to the Park School of Baltimore students. They're lined up to my left here, who are here for their career exploration day. And welcome students. I had an opportunity to meet all of you. Very impressive. And I know high school could be a lot of fun, but also very hard. Just stay focused.
I bet high school sucks right now with social media and all the ideas out there that you got to follow. Political correctness is how we got here. I've been saying that for like 3 days now.
To Vice President Pence's announcement of finding classified docs in his possession. And then more broadly, most of the rules surrounding classification are created and can be amended by executive order. Does the president believe the system must be reformed?
So first, on your first question, look, I'm not going to comment on any ongoing criminal investigation or any investigation, as you all know.
Well, you're going to have a long day today, aren't you?
Independent, and we will not politically interfere. We've been very, very clear about that under this president. The president's been very clear since his campaign promises, and so I'm just going to refer you to the Department of Justice. On your second question, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Can I ask one on Ukraine?
Sure.
Is the administration ready to give Abrams to Ukraine in order? I guess one, is the administration ready to give the Abrams? And two, if you are,
Kevin said she looks like an extra from Fraggle Rock.
So I'm going to say we're in constant communications with Ukraine.
That's a good one.
Partners as it relates to what Ukraine needs in the battlefield, but I don't have anything to preview here, any announcements to make at this time of any new types of security assistance to preview for you today.
Following up from yesterday, has the president invited the Justice Department to search his Rehoboth Beach house?
Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office, who have been regularly in touch with all of
Big fella, she's dressed like she's going to debate Abe Lincoln.
this legal ongoing matter. Just don't have anything to share.
Welcome to the KJP Roast, Hooligans. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get this chat filled up.
To investigate former Vice President Pence's handling of classified documents.
That's for the Department of Justice to decide.
And now that we're seeing the two most recent vice presidents discover classified documents in their private homes, does this suggest that there's a larger problem within the government where classified documents are not where they're supposed to be? Do a lot of people have documents outside of where they're properly supposed to be stored?
I'm not going to comment from here on that. I would refer you to the White House counsel and anything related to classified documents from here.
Watch all the reporters just leave now.
On the issue of gun control, you spoke about the president's commitment to weapons ban and his view that there is more that can be done. How do I should say the limitations in Congress, i.e. with the votes that you have or don't have in Congress, impact that view? And what can you be more specific about what he thinks can be done given the votes that he has now?
So I just want to remind folks that this is a president who has made gun violence and dealing with gun violence his career. And he's actually been very instrumental in pushing.
Well, he's not very good at his career.
These types of gun reforms that we have seen, whether it is what we saw with the assault weapons ban 30 years ago that he helped.
You guys keep banning assault weapons, but there's still issues, so probably not working.
Piece of legislation that he signed into law just months ago. That was, again, the most significant piece of legislation that dealt with gun violence.
It's really not. It's really not. The only thing that beats a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, and when you make laws like that, you are restricting the creation of good guys with guns. You are causing the problem, not preventing it, not even treating the symptoms, really.
Deal done on dealing with gun violence that was able to get done because of the president's leadership on this, because of the president's focus on this. Look, we're always looking for his team is always looking for ways to continue with to do executive actions to deal with violence. But
you should be looking for classified documents, apparently. Oh, they're just, what, are you going to cut it off? Was I just being too hilarious? Hold on a second, I'm going to refresh this. This is her brain. This is what goes on inside her head during the briefing.
To deal with gun violence. If you're going to the grocery store, you should not have to worry about going to the grocery store and potentially having to deal with gun violence.
No, I don't worry. I'm armed, and so is everybody else around here, so we don't worry. We just get our groceries and keep it moving. If you're scared, then just say that.
The president has been very clear, and this is not just the last 2 years. This has been the many decades of his career. So we're going to have to continue to have those conversations with Congress. We're going to continue to call on Congress to take action.
On a separate topic, U.S. officials have determined that Chinese companies have been sending non-lethal assistance to Russia for Ukraine. What is the United States saying to the Chinese government about this?
So we're closely monitoring the situation as we have been since the war started. We will continue to communicate to China the implications of providing material support to Russia's war.
They mean doing business with China.
We have talked about this many times that we will
blink, 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 blink.
To support Russia's aggression against Ukraine. And as I've said many times, as my colleagues from NSC has said many times, we will continue to support Ukraine and the Ukrainian people as long as needed.
But what are those
Prostitutes.
I'm not going to get into diplomatic or private conversations from here. I'm just going to let you know that we've been monitoring the situation and we've been very clear with the Chinese government on this. Yeah.
Thanks, Karine. You talk about how gun violence has been a priority for this administration. It's been a priority for the president over his entire career. How does he feel in moments like last night? Is it frustration? Is it helplessness? Personally, how does he deal with this continuing to be a major problem in the country?
You know, Phil, I would say that you've seen him out there, sadly, with many of these tragedies, mourning with the families, offering his support to families, and it continues. You continue to. What you see from him is certainly how he feels when he sees these types of travesties. You saw that in Uvalde.
He just seems lost all the time.
Kids were gunned down, where families had to identify the way they would identify their own children was through DNA. That's how horrible that situation was. You saw him in Buffalo, New York.
All these acts of violence is desperation from people who desperately need mental help. Have you ever seen a child that was spoiled throw a temper tantrum? And then if you've ever seen a child that was abused throw a temper tantrum, the one that lives a harder life has has more energy when acting out. They feel that it has to be more of a display because of the impact of their life experience. As an adult, going through 30, 40, 60 years of your life sucking because they keep making it harder and harder to sustain life here in America, you get to a point where you just, and then you lose control. So we have a mental health issue. We have issues where it's too hard to sustain life here, where you can't even live as a single adult. You have to have a roommate or you can't afford to live.
What the president has been facing over the course of the last several weeks?
I'm just not going to comment from here. Got Joey.
Yeah.
Bunch of no comments today.
You were there
Yeah,
yesterday,
I know.
Joey. But it was Michael. I apologize, Michael.
Do you have any update on whether the president plans to visit California? I know you were asked yesterday, but since then there's, as we've noted, there was a second mass shooting there.
So no plans at this time to preview about a presidential travel to California. You saw his statement. I just kind of read part of his statement. His heart goes out to the families, to the victims of the families, and we will continue to fight to make sure we deal with this issue. We deal with gun violence. We started with the executive actions, the historic executive actions that the president was able to do the first 2 years of his administration. We were able, again, as I mentioned, sign a bipartisan piece of legislation to deal with gun violence, but we need to do more. We need to do a lot more, and so the president's going to continue to call for that. I don't have anything to preview about a trip.
Yeah, and you were kind of alluded to this, or asked a little bit about this, but what is the strategy now to pass the assault weapons ban that Feinstein introduced? I mean, you're talking, of course, about a Republican-led House now, and so how? I mean, what can the White House do to actually overcome those numbers?
Yeah, and one thing I just want to go back to on California, the president has been in touch with local and state leaders, and his team continues to offer support.
You know why they worry more about gun restriction than mental health? Because people with mental health problems are the only ones that support these people. They can't fix those people because then they'll have no one that supports them.
It is a priority for the president. It really is. That's why he's taken executive actions. That's why his team has worked with Congress on this bipartisan legislation that was passed several months ago. And he'll continue to do that. And, I think if you all remember, and many of you reported this, that how difficult it was going to be for the president to get any bipartisanship the first 2 years of his administration. And he was able to get historic pieces of legislation done. And so the president says this all the time. He's optimistic, and I think optimism is very important to this president. But at the same time, he's going to continue to ask Congress to act. And
Serial spiller. We have a government that won't stay out of our lives. That's the problem more than anything. The cause of majority of the issues we have. I completely agree.
To deal with a matter that is really tearing apart communities.
Thanks, Corinne. Was the White House aware before this afternoon that classified documents had been found at Vice President Pence's residence as well?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Who else has got classified documents?
That other former high office holders should now go back and check their personal residences out of an abundance of caution to make sure that they're not holding on to classified documents as well?
That's not something I can comment from here. I don't even know the
anything. You don't know anything.
That we heard about Pence, so I'm just not going to comment from here. I'm not going to comment on any other former elected official, current elected official. With this particular case, I refer to Department of Justice. Anything that relates to this White House, I would refer to the White House counsel's office.
And then on the Abrams tank, last week at the podium, John Kirby said that the Abrams is expensive to maintain, to operate, to fuel, and that it requires a lot of training. Does this White House still have those same concerns when it comes to providing tanks to the Ukrainians?
So as my DOD colleagues have said very recently, that, again, nothing to preview from here, certainly don't have anything to share, but they never ruled out tanks. Just want to make that very clear. I think what my colleagues at the DOD have said in the past, well, very recently, is that there were always challenges with tanks, but not going to preview anything. I think I would refer you to the DOD comments on this. Again, they've always been challenges. It's never been taken off the table, but as I just mentioned, I don't have anything to preview.
Those are the challenges. What are the benefits to the potential?
I mean, we've always said, again, nothing.
I'm disappointed she came out here with that outfit, but didn't, speak like Edgar Allan Poe.
As they're trying to.
I wanted to hear recite like the Raven and stuff.
And we are always looking for ways to offer security assistance for them. And so, again, not going to get ahead of any potential announcement. Don't have anything for you to preview, but we're always in constant communication with Ukraine and what it is that they need for their success, what it is that they need to really battle the aggression that we have seen from Russia. This almost.
Mr. Beansy Bean, quote the liar, nevermore.
Just confirmed that they've.
I'm here for all of that.
Ukraine. Do you have any comment on that? And is that linked to, in any way, reversal?
Look at Peter. See, he ain't got no lips. It's because he don't kiss rear ends.
Sending Abrams to Ukraine as well.
So we have said this before. We believe it's up to each individual country. It is their own sovereign decisions on what they provide for Ukraine. We've been very clear about that. And we always appreciate what our allies, our partners are doing to make sure that Ukraine is able to defend itself. I'm not going to go beyond that. Again, don't have anything to preview from here.
Switching topics on Ticketmaster, there was this hearing in the Senate today. Given the White House's concern about monopoly power, does the White House believe the Live Nation Ticketmaster merger should be unwound, given what we've heard today from senators expressing that concern as well?
Are you a Swiftie? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Things that you learn. Look, President Biden is a strong proponent of increasing competition in our economy. As he said last year when he signed the landmark executive order on competition, and I'll quote, "The heart of American capitalism is a simple idea, open and..."
You hooligans crack me up in the chat.
Capitalism without competition isn't capitalism, it's exploitation. So I'll say one more thing about the executive order. It establishes a whole of government effort to promote competition in the American economy because we know the lack of competition leads to higher prices and worse service. So again, capitalism without competition isn't capitalism, it's exploitation. And that's why he's really made an effort with his executive actions to deal with something that truly matters to the American people.
Same concern
and the
apply
Swifties.
Does the same concern apply to Google, which is facing new DOJ action today?
Look, I'm not going to get into DOJ action or what DOJ is potentially any legal matters that they potentially are taking. What I will say is more broadly is how the president is a proponent for
old man Walter for prison,
and he has shown that through his actions.
On gun violence, you've mentioned the potential for further executive action. Is there an active review underway of other potential executive actions? Where is this being worked on within the administration?
So don't have anything to share on any active review. What I can say is that the president has asked his team to do all they can through executive action to reduce gun violence. We've seen him make his historic progress via executive action to deal with this dangerous violence that we're seeing, gun violence.
He can't get support, so he has to strong arm everything.
So we'll continue.
Thank you so much, the Oak Enclave, for that $2 donation. I appreciate you. Thank you.
List out what is it that we're exactly looking at, but his team is always looking at ways to improve, to deal with an issue, again, that is devastating communities across the country. But I also want to be very, very clear here. In order to deal with this, we need Congress to act, and that's the way that we're really going to be able to deal with a matter that is, again, devastating communities, devastating families across the country.
On documents, I realize you don't want to comment on existing issues, but there is clearly an
indirectly calling her out
across administrations with handling of classified materials. Perhaps this isn't the right time for this White House to lead a review of U.S. policy on classified materials, but is that something that the White House is considering? Is there someone who would be the right person to lead a review of the current challenges that are obviously tripping up people from all parties?
Understand the question, and I know it's going to come in many different ways, but I'm going to refer you to the White House counsel's office, who would be the best.
Those reporters should just get up and walk out of there.
About that.
She has failed at her job.
Ukraine. The administration has been relatively successful in forming alliances, not just in Europe, but in Asia as well, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. against Russia, of course, and imposing economic sanctions. But is the White House satisfied with the military assistance that these countries are giving? I know you're going to say it's a sovereign state and they can decide for themselves, but at this point, as we're approaching the one-year anniversary, are you satisfied with what you ask from alliances to give to Ukraine militarily?
I mean, look, we've always been very appreciative of our allies and partners in their efforts to help Ukraine and what they have decided their security assistance is going to be for Ukraine. And so we will continue to be appreciative. We will continue to thank them. Again, and you said it in your question to me, it is a sovereign decision. It is up to each individual country to decide how are they going to do their part in helping Ukraine fight against Russia aggression. But, you know, these are our allies, these are our partners, and we will continue to work with them closely to make sure that Ukrainians are able to fight this brutal war.
Do you think it's holding these alliances?
Say that last part.
The alliances, are they still holding?
We believe that they are. I'm gonna come back down. Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks. It being the White House's position for the last several weeks that the president's legal team did the right thing, is it the initial observation of the White House that the Pence legal team did the right thing?
That's not for me to comment on.
I thought Alec Baldwin was there for a second.
One of the things that the Pence team seems to have done in the last week is make public disclosure of this circumstance. Advise NARA, but also advise Congress and now the public. Any reflections among the communications of press staff here as to how the Pence team handled it versus how you handled it?
Steve, I understand your question and I hear it. We've answered your question in many different variations. I'm just don't have anything else to share from here. If you have any more specifics or details about this, about the ongoing legal matter, I would refer you to the Department of Justice. Anything else, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
For 2 months.
Thanks. Does the White House have a response to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's surprise trip to Jordan today to meet with King Abdullah? And do you think it could help reduce tensions in the region?
I have not seen those reports. I have not been able to talk to our National Security Council about it. But clearly we are, as you know, Jake Sullivan just recently went to Israel to meet with his counterparts to continue the very important relationship we have with Israel. Just don't have anything further. We normally don't comment on individual countries meeting and the agenda that they have with other countries, but don't have anything specific to share on that.
Can you say anything more about what's on the agenda today with for the meeting at 3 o'clock with Democratic leadership?
So, as you know, the president is very much looking forward to meeting with the new Democratic leadership, and that is happening pretty soon, less than an hour. And so he's going to host them in the Roosevelt Room. You're going to hear from him at the top. He'll have something to share about his thoughts about the meeting. They'll cover a wide range of issues, especially how we can make even more economic progress on top of what our shared accomplishments have led to, the creation of over 10.7 million new jobs and 10 million small business starts, bringing down inflation and a record number of Americans enrolling in healthcare coverage. One of the main avenues for doing that is ramping up implementation of the legislation they accomplished together over the past 2 years. When you think of Inflation Reduction Act, when you think about the continuing implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, that's what one of the topics that will come up. And look, the president has said this. He said this after the midterm elections. He said this many times. I've said this. He is looking forward to working with Republicans in good faith to continue the work that he has been able to do the last 2 years, some in a bipartisan way, to deliver for the American people. But look, he is also going to call out, and we have said this before, continue to call out any dangerous extreme MAGA Republicans. He can do both. But like proposals to raise taxes on the middle class, or cut Medicare, cut Social Security, as we've been hearing from national Republicans, or also, let's not forget, the national ban, a national abortion ban, or worsen inflation. And so those are the things that the president is very focused on. And I think the most important thing that I think you can take away from this is he wants to continue to deliver for the American people. He's willing to do that in a bipartisan way, but it has to be in good faith. Go ahead.
That was one of my questions about the preview, but one of the things I wonder is the president has received some Democratic criticism about how he has handled some of the things that he has said about the documents matter. Do you expect that he might address that with the Democratic leaders, because it's obviously got political implications for just how he's perceived and perhaps some of his political strength going forward.
Yeah, I kind of talked about this.
He has political strength, does he?
And some of those same criticism from Democrats. They also said they believe the president did what he needed to do and has handled it fully and in a cooperative way. But look,
if he did what he needed to do, he wouldn't have had the documents in the first place.
And we'll continue to say this. It's up to the American people to decide.
We've decided. We just can't do anything about it.
They know what this president has been doing and delivering on. We've talked about the midterms and what was supposed to be or what was predicted to be, and it didn't happen, right? When you think about the red wave that we had heard over and over again, and part of that, why we didn't see that, is because the president led with a message.
Pumpkin, I wonder if KJP has classified documents in her purse. She probably does.
To the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, when it comes to making sure that he's doing the work to lower cost at the gas pump, which he has been able to do. And so, look, we will let the American people see for themselves what the president has been able to deliver the last 2 years. I'm just not going to get into any further discussion about politics.
Specifically, do you know if he has been briefed on the Pence matter? And has he had any outreach with former President Obama, since some of the documents would have been from their joint administration?
Those two questions, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. Good, Steve.
Thanks, Green. After a special counsel was named, but before the FBI searched, President Biden went to his house in Wilmington. What was he doing in there?
I would refer you to the White House counsel office.
So it was something relating to this case?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Okay. Do you think that this story was leaked by someone trying to bruise the president politically ahead of a re-election announcement?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office, as they've been the ones who've been closely involved.
Okay. More basically, we know the president did it. Why did he do it?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Make her cry.
He admits to having information that wasn't his. Why did he smuggle it out?
I will let the statement of the president stand for itself. I'm just not.
Why is he such a criminal?
Why did he not tell you about it for months?
Yes, thanks. Slight shift to topic. Haiti.
Oh, okay. You're just gonna dismiss him, huh? She's gonna cry. She's gonna cry.
The gangs run. Well, they don't really run anything, but they're in charge. Can we expect any?
It's not gonna be anything but attitude the rest of the press briefing.
U.S. response to this, given not just the humanitarian side, but maybe the national security aspect for the U.S.?
So, don't have anything new to share on any new announcement or engagement. Look, this is something that we have been monitoring very closely, and we have done, everything that we can to, in this time, to help the Haitian people, to help in a way that could really make a difference in the humanitarian aid, as you just laid out. And
M-Dot, what'd I miss? You just missed Peter kicking the sand out of KJP's hoo-ha.
But this is truly important to the president and what's going on in Haiti, and you've heard us talk about it over the past several months. You heard the president talk about this at Knowles when he was in Mexico City, when he met with the Canadian Prime Minister, when he met with the President of Mexico. It was clearly on the agenda and a conversation that they had. We had a readout on that specifically. It was brought up in the press conference that they had. Just don't have anything further to share.
Karim, since you don't have any answer on the classified document, are you still a good fit for this job?
Go ahead. Go ahead, my friend.
To have any answer for you.
Go ahead.
Call her out, Simon.
Has any meeting been set between...
He said, because you don't have information on classified documents, you're not fit for this job.
Here with Speaker Mark.
I swear to God, that's what I heard him say.
We've commented on this. This is something that the president is certainly looking forward to. And look, he's willing and wants to work with the speaker in good faith in delivering in a bipartisan way for the American people. Don't have anything to preview at this time.
Before or after the State of the Union?
This is something that he would...
Make her rage quit.
For
She's going to cry in her Edgar Allan Poe outfit. She's going to be crying during the Civil War reenactment later while she's LARPing.
I know that...
Maybe they'll ask her pronouns.
In the context of the deficit and debt, having those conversations, is that sort of what the engagement would be limited to, or would the president want to expand out the, you've talked a lot.
I'm a really nice guy, but my face looks just like that when I'm not smiling.
Of issues that's going to be discussed. As you mentioned, when he was talking about the deficit, he was talking about wanting to work in a bipartisan way to continue to lower the debt, right? Which he has been able to do by $1.7 trillion.
I think I'm gonna sit here and cut this whole live up afterwards and put out little clips, and I hope all of you hooligans watch them and share them, because this stuff is worth watching, I feel.
When it comes to the debt limit, the debt ceiling, the president has been very clear. I have been very clear. You've heard from our economics team about that, how this should be done without conditions. That still stands. And we can't forget that, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, the debt ceiling has been dealt with 78 times since 1960, 49 times under a Republican president, and 29 times with a Democratic president. And let's not also forget, I think this is something that people who need to understand, when you talk about the debt ceiling, you're talking about not more new spending, you're talking about what Congress, the bill that Congress has racked up, right? This is their basic.
YouTube, you suck today, man. Hold on a second.
Basic duty to deal with the debt ceiling. When the president walked in,
It's because I got like 7 YouTube videos open and they're trying to force me to watch an ad.
it was before the president walked into office. So this is their duty. This is their duty to do this.
How many times are you gonna say duty?
Talking about. And when Republicans are saying they're going to, they want to cut Social Security, they want to cut Medicare, they want to cut programs that Americans have paid into, that's going to hurt senior citizens, that's going to hurt our veterans.
All right, Shelly babes, you watch out for it later today. I'll post it.
It is their basic duty to deal with this. Go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, thank you, Corinne. I have 2 questions. The first, New York Congressman Nick LaLota is skipping tonight's presidential reception for new members of Congress in protest of White House coronavirus rules that require an attestation of vaccination and a negative test result. LaLota says the rules are arbitrary and unscientific and should be far behind us. Does the White House have a reaction to that?
So haven't seen that reporting or those comments from the congressman, but I'll say this. We have protections in place to protect staff and the President of the United States. COVID isn't over. We've been very clear about that. Hundreds of Americans are dying every day, and cases are increasing right now, today. That's why we take common sense measures like COVID testing ahead of large indoor gatherings.
How scared are we supposed to be?
An important issue that's been important when we're talking about COVID and dealing with COVID and coming up with comprehensive ways to make sure that people get vaccinated. That's something that the president dealt with from day one of his administration.
I'm way more concerned with third parties and people abusing children.
We still have the vaccine attestation rule, especially considering the very highly transmissible Omicron mutations that can elude most of the common vaccines.
Look at Simon's face. He's just doing everything he can to not be kicked out of that press briefing room.
We pay very close attention to science, and just don't have anything to say beyond that. That is something that our experts, we take their advice when it comes to.
This is like her worst day that I've witnessed.
Regarding a comment from Senator Ted Cruz.
What is that face?
President Biden's Senate records at the University of Delaware for potentially classified information. Those records reportedly include about 1,850 boxes of documents, as well as 415 gigabytes of electronic files. Does President Biden have any objection to such a search?
When it comes to the documents and this ongoing legal matter, I refer you to the White House counsel's office.
I'd just like to read. I'm so sorry.
You said you had 2. You've asked 4.
I'd just like to re-up the request of our colleagues in this room for someone to answer these questions from the podium.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks.
Okay. I'll come to you. Go ahead.
Kareem, the oversight chair, he had Mr. Comey, he wrote the head of the Secret Service asking for the visitor information from Wilmington. Now, I know you've said there's no visitor logs, but do you have any objection, or does the White House have an objection to the Secret Service providing any documents or communication about who's going in and out?
Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office on anything that's related to the investigation, the oversight hearing that's happening.
And then just at the top, in response to the Pence question, you said you weren't going to comment on any ongoing criminal or other investigations. Is there any reason to believe any of these are criminal?
I'm just saying I'm just not going to comment on any type of investigation.
She's just saying she's not going to do her job.
Department of Justice is.
So faded is the sign language. Oh, for shush or I mean, I see them do this. Every time she says I see them do this.
It's very clear to everybody that gun is a problem in this country. I'm going to give you an example.
It's not.
In Africa, when we see news from the U.S., like a 6-year-old boy bringing gun to school, and we see people going to the movie theater being killed by gun, and also seeing
the gun didn't do it. It's the person using the tool.
are killed by gun is extremely scary for us. And we have seen that this country is very developed. What do you think is preventing the Congress to act when it comes to gun control? And what can more President Biden do to move on and do something to control the gun? And my question comes because I'm a mother.
I think if you made CPL classes free and you taught Americans how to properly use and store a firearm in school at a young age, that would solve these issues.
We get shot. This is very, very scary, and this is a problem, and we saw recently people also dying by gun. What can President do more to move on and control the guns? And please, what do you think the Congress is waiting to act?
So when it relates to the Congress, you have to ask Congress. You have to go over to Congress and meet with congressional members and ask them that very question. Lay it out just the way that you laid it out to me. I think it's an important question for them to answer. But also, we saw last night Senator Feinstein, along with Senators Murphy and Blumenthal, reintroduce the assault weapons ban, which we support. And we encourage for Congress to act on that piece of legislation. Look, again, I would suggest you go talk to them about this. Look, you just laid out what I just said, right? You just laid out about going to the movie theaters and being worried about gun violence. You just laid out about being a parent and worrying about your child going to school or going to the grocery store and worried about gun violence. That is something that we should not have to deal with. And this is something, again, if you look at the president's record as a senator, you look at his first 2 years.
Armed Americans don't worry about these things.
This issue. And he's going to continue.
Let me rephrase that. Constitutional Americans do not have these worries.
To take action. He has taken historic executive actions, as I just laid out moments ago. But when it comes to really, truly dealing with this issue, we need legislation. We need legislation. We need Congress to act. So we are thankful and we are hopeful to see what occurred with this legislation that was introduced, again, by Senators Feinstein, Blumenthal, and Murphy. And we're going to continue to encourage Congress to act. But I would pose the question that you just asked me to Congress. Okay.
Just a follow-up quick, still on gun violence. We have spoke, like between me and some friends, that in this country, and this, I'm making this point because we need to remind people that America is the only country on earth that people die by gun without even being in war. Because I'm giving this example because in Africa...
It's also the only country where individuals are able to defend themselves with a firearm, because the only thing that beats a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Somebody take this woman out of the room. She don't know what she's talking about, and she'd be super offended if we were talking about what we think of their people and how they behave and handle themselves as a country.
What can we do to help control guns in this country?
Well, look, what I can speak to, there are many ways that people can get involved in dealing with the gun violence that we're seeing here. I'm not going to make any suggestions, but there are ways that folks can go out there and participate in a way that's healthy, in the way that actually helps deal with a real issue. What I can speak to is what the president has done. What I can speak to is what the president believes. What I can speak to is the president's record on this, which is you can see for yourself as a senator this last 2 years as president in the executive actions that he's taken. He signed a bipartisan piece of legislation, as I just mentioned moments ago, to deal with, in taking one step to deal with gun violence. And so, look, that's what I can speak to. That's what we can talk about very clearly. And we are going to continue to discuss and have the conversation and call on Congress to act. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Green. We heard you talk about the statements that President Biden put out, but why haven't we heard the president address the American people on camera about these recent shootings?
He's taken, which one?
About the shootings that have happened recently.
Yeah, I mean, he has... He's talked about it many times, as you know, and I'm sure you'll hear from him in the upcoming days.
In the upcoming days, you know, sometime in the future, you'll hear from Old Man Walter.
Especially this week has been, and
meanwhile, every other president that has been in office while this happened, that day went out and spoke in front of the American people.
Who were murdered. You saw him in Buffalo when he was. Again, comforting families who saw their family member murdered. And it's been too many. And so you'll continue to hear from us. I think when the president puts out a statement, that is a very powerful action by the president. You all take it. You all repeat what the president has said. So I would take that as a serious communication for the president, as you all already do. And he'll continue.
Thanks for being here, Shelly Babes.
Spoken with the president about the most recent report that more documents were found at his home personally?
No, I have not.
Why didn't Biden tell intentional?
You see her face? It's like she knew she was lying.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who in his new book and in a tweet sent this afternoon has referred to Jamal Khashoggi as an activist and a part-time stringer.
So I'm gonna let Mr. Pompeo speak for himself. Here's what I will say, and what we will say from the White House about this issue. From the earliest days of this administration, we took the murder of Jamal Khashoggi very seriously. That included releasing intelligence community report on the murder, which was not done in the last administration, sanctioning a number of Saudi officials and entities, and instituting the so-called Khashoggi ban. Again, I will let Mr. Pompeo speak for himself.
Do you think Jamal Khashoggi, would you consider him an activist?
I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get into describing Jamal Khashoggi. I can tell you how we acted and what we.
Pretty much everyone with a Facebook account is an activist nowadays.
Be very clear on what the White House has the actions that White House has taken. Okay.
Thank you so much. Another Africa question for you today. With news that the UN ambassador is heading to the continent and Janet Yellen is there right now, what messages are these two top cabinet officials trying to send to African countries broadly? How do you combat concerns and perceptions that the continent is yet again being used as a battlefield for a proxy war between East and West? And then also, how do these visits lay the groundwork for the president's promised visit to the continent? And any details on that would be awesome.
Well, to your last question first, don't have anything to preview about the president's visit, potential visit to Africa. We have said that he is going to make a visit, just don't have anything to share at this time. So our partnership in Africa is not about other nations. Our partnership there, it's as demonstrated by our commitments at the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. The United States sees African countries as genuine partners and wants to build relationship based on mutual respect. That's what you saw at the summit, and that's what the president has been consistent on, and that's what we want to see. Our focus is on Africa and our efforts to strengthen these partnerships across a wide range of sectors, spanning from businesses to health, to peace and security. Building on those efforts, we've had Secretary Blinken and Secretary Yellen travel to the region very recently. And as you noted, we have Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield's upcoming travel to Ghana, Mozambique, and Kenya, and that's going to be from January 25th to the 29th. The ambassadors, this is going to be the ambassador's third trip to the sub-Saharan Africa, and since she took up her position at the U.S. ambassador to the United United Nations. She's gone 3 times under this current tenure that she's currently doing. And you will continue to see us following through the president's commitment and to step up our engagement across Africa this year and beyond. Look, this is a commitment. We saw it when we put the summit together with 49, 50 heads of states who were here, right here in D.C., and that was over 3 days, and the president participated in the summits, his team participated in the summit, and we talked about issues that really mattered to the continent and issues that really mattered to us as well.
Sure, why those specific countries were chosen? You just mentioned Kenya, Mozambique, and Ghana.
I would refer you to the UN, to the ambassador's office. As I said, it's her 3rd trip, right? So she's gone 2 other times, and so I would refer you to their specific strategy on why these 3 countries. Go ahead, Courtney.
Thank you. I wanted to ask if you have any information at this point about the release of the budget for next fiscal year.
So, as you know, the president is looking forward to releasing his budget to the American people. Clearly, that's something that is important for this president to do. And the OMB, his team at the OMB, is working very, very hard in getting that done and timing. And obviously, his budget for 2024, and don't have a time for when this is going to happen. But again, this is something that he wants to make sure that he wants to share with Congress and the American people, and it's a priority.
She just gets stuck.
The administration, I don't think you all have met that deadline yet, or that time frame yet. Does that have anything to do with when last year's appropriations were done? I mean, what's affecting why you wouldn't have a date yet?
So look, the omnibus, the timing of the omnibus late last year certainly has an impact on the budget's timing, but certainly we'll be in touch with when we're ready to share the president's 2024 budget.
Thank you.
Go around.
Thank you. There was reporting from Japan that the U.S. decided it will not deploy land-based medium and intermediate range missiles to Japan. Can you confirm this decision and say
I think she's the only one in there with the compliance cloth today.
where the missiles will be deployed?
So according to the Department of Defense, there are no plans to deploy capabilities to Japan that range beyond 500 kilometers. So I don't have.
What's up, Larry? Clone 1. I wish I could be this bad at my job. Right.
When the president speaks on the economy later this week, how much of that will be talking about his own record and how much will be warning about what Republicans and Congress want to do, such as the sales tax?
So just a little bit of what he's going to say. As I announced last week, for those who may have missed it, on Thursday, President Biden will deliver remarks on the economic progress we have made since he took office. The president will contrast his plan to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, and to protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare, with the congressional Republican plan to cut Social Security, Medicare, and other vital programs, and impose a 30% national sales tax that will increase taxes on working families. His remarks.
Serum. When my boss asks me a question, I'll just refer him to someone else. Right. I mean, that's okay. Just tell them, we're following the White House as an example. I mean, how could anyone argue with that?
We're trying to do and what the Republicans have laid out. But again, the president has always been very clear. He's willing to work in good faith.
Super clear. He has no regrets.
Deliver on the economic successes that you've seen from this administration in the last 2 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karin. Thanks, Karin. I want to ask about, to follow up on the story of Chinese companies providing assistance for Russia. Did you have now a clear sense whether the Chinese government is aware or approving this or not? And my second question is on Turkey, but can you please answer this?
Oh, I'm sorry, can you say your first question again? It's just hard to hear.
About the Chinese companies providing assistance for Russia. Do you have a clear sense whether the Chinese government is aware of that or not?
So can't speak to that, if the Chinese government is aware of that or not. We're closely monitoring the situation, as I just stated earlier, as we have been since the war started. And we will continue to communicate to China the implications of providing material support to Russia's war against Ukraine. don't have anything specific on what they know or not know, but we're certainly always communicating with them.
And on Turkey, yesterday, President Erdogan said that Sweden should not expect that Turkey would support Sweden to join NATO over Quran burning. How do you respond to his comment and also to the incident?
So I talked about this a little bit yesterday about how we see this, and we have said before, many times before, that Finland and Sweden are ready to be NATO allies. That's how we see things. Both are members of NATO's Partnership for Peace and NATO's Enhanced Opportunities Partnership. Their militaries work seamlessly with alliances, forces. Finland and Sweden have already taken concrete steps to fulfill the commitments they made under the Trilateral Memorandum of Agreement with Turkey, signed on the margins of the NATO summit in Madrid, as you all know. And that includes substantially strengthening their bilateral cooperation with Turkey on key security concerns. We continue to expect that NATO will formally welcome Finland and Sweden as members. This will enhance their security as well as that of the Euro Alliance region. So as their membership process continues, the United States is fully committed to Finland's and Sweden's accession. The strength of that support, bless you, can be seen in our Senate's overwhelming bipartisan support for vote for their membership, and that so
we say bless you now. I thought we were still like, oh, you're gonna kill grandma.
In the last several weeks, major IT companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon have fired thousands of IT professionals. A significant number of them are either Indian Americans or Indian IT professionals. The two questions: these companies are saying that a recession is on the horizon, that's why they're firing these people. Does the president think that there is a recession coming up? And secondly, these Indian IT professionals who are on H-1B visa, they have to leave the country in 16 days. These people who have their families and kids studying here, their house and mortgage, they're asking for more time to stay here so that they can find an alternative way to sustain themselves.
So more broadly, I'm just not going to speculate why companies, individual companies, have made specific personnel decisions. That is for them to speak to. But you don't have to take my word for it. Our economy is continuing to grow in a steady.
Oh yeah, it's not inflation's fault. It's just happening for no reason. Everyone's just letting their employees go because they just don't need the help anymore. That's what it is.
And so more broadly, again, when it comes to economy, layoffs remain near record lows, according to job.
Robert, I'm going to make shirts that look just like that.
Specifics are why this is happening. This is something for individual companies to speak to. And look, the president has said this many times. He's going to do everything that he can to make sure this is an economy that works for everyone, that works from the bottom up, middle out, and that's what you've seen from his economic plans. But
top of rump.
Hands, how the impact of losing a job can have on a family. He understands that very personally, but just not going to get into individual specifics.
The status of those who have been fired, how can they stay here in this country?
I don't have any specifics on that when it comes to...
She means she doesn't care. Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Green, for that $2 donation. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Don't want to comment on individual companies. I can speak to how the economy has actually been more of a stable and steady growth because of the president's actions. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi. Heading into this meeting with the congressional Democratic leaders, is there anything you can tell us about the relationship between President Biden and Leader Jeffries? Obviously, we know his relationship with Speaker Pelosi before, and he goes way back with Schumer, but what kind of relationship, if any, does he have with Congressman Jeffries?
The president sees Congressman Jeffries, Leader Jeffries, as a vital partner in this, and is looking forward to continuing to work with the congressman, and also is proud to work with the congressman closely as we push forward on our shared agenda, our shared priorities in the 118th Congress. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, just run away. Don't take Simon's question. No. You're unfit, Karine. I love that. I love that he screamed that across the room. I wish they would have showed the crowd when that happened, because I bet half the people in the room would have been like, yeah, you're unfit, KJP. Thank you so much, Big Weave, for the 300 bits on Twitch. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, hooligans, we're going to be moving forward here. All right, so we're going to move forward. We're going to watch this video about the shooting that happened yesterday at Half Moon Bay. 7 people were killed in 2 related shootings. They refer to him as a shooting suspect. The person that went out there and shot all those people, 67-year-old of Asian descent. This video is just under 5 minutes long. The links for all these videos we're going to cover will be in the description after the live. When we get to the article, I'll post it in the chat. Gotta get Kareen off the screen.
Heartbreak in Half Moon Bay. 7 people shot and killed in 2 related shootings.
It's something that's unimaginable to happen here in Half Moon Bay.
There's really not much I can say, about the pain that we're feeling right now.
A tight-knit Bay Area community in shock tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meebeck.
And I'm Julie Hayner. A total of 8 people were shot, 7 of them killed by a gunman in Half Moon Bay. The victims were found at 2 separate locations in Half Moon Bay, a mushroom farm and a nursery off of Highway 92, and another farming business just a short distance away off of Highway 1.
And we have team coverage tonight on this developing story. KTVU's Jenna Katsuyama with community reaction. But first, we go to Zach Sauce with more on exactly what happened and more on the suspect, who tonight, Zach, is in custody.
Well, the arrest of the suspect believed to be behind today's deadly mass shooting here in Half Moon Bay. His arrest happening just down the parking lot from where I'm standing, right outside of a San Mateo Sheriff's Office substation. And law enforcement describing what happened here today, well, they say the fact that it could happen here in Half Moon Bay, it's something they would have called unthinkable.
This kind of shooting is horrific. It's a tragedy that we hear about far too often.
Just one day after a mass shooting rocked the community of Monterey Park, the city of Half Moon Bay.
Ohio Kyle, they're coming for your guns again. Yep, that's what all this nonsense is.
In the afternoon when kids were out of school, and for children to witness this is unspeakable.
The suspected gunman now.
That's the guy who did it.
67-year-old Chun-Li Zhao, a Half Moon Bay resident.
Zhao is believed.
I feel like that stuff is crazy.
And there is
usually when you see someone like that, they can't even use a kiosk. They can barely use the pop machine at a Taco Bell. Somehow caused a mass shooting.
92 near the Spanish town shops. One other person was rushed to Stanford Medical.
And how come there was no other armed Americans in sight?
3 other people also discovered.
There was a bad guy with a gun. Where was the good guys with a gun? Oh, they were probably restricted by those gun laws that they keep passing.
Sheriff's deputies believe Zhao worked at one of the businesses. A description of Zhao's vehicle, a maroon SUV, and his license plate setting off a manhunt.
Zhao was located in his vehicle in the parking lot of the sheriff's substation here in Half Moon Bay.
A sheriff's deputy spotting the car just before 5 in the evening, one parking spot over, Katie McHugh.
It surprised me to see the officer asking me pretty quietly to get back from my car, and I scooted back a little bit, and then he asked me to get farther back and farther back.
McHugh there as officers quickly surrounded the vehicle.
They had their guns drawn. They approached from behind the car, pretty tight formation. Was taken down to the ground by them.
Inside the car, deputies locating a...
I skipped ahead a little bit because I can't have pew-pews on the screen.
Without incident, authorities now just trying to understand why. A community desperate for answers before it can begin to heal.
This is a devastating tragedy for this community and the families touched by this unspeakable act of violence.
And sheriff's deputies were out here just a short while ago collecting evidence.
Matthew, see the camera crew on the scene? Yep. Officers like, all right, we're going to do it. Come on. News team, hop in the back.
But again, still trying to figure out the motive, the why of all.
Yeah, nobody knows why. It just randomly happened.
I got to ask you a little bit more on the relationship here between the suspect and the victims. Did deputies tell you, did the sheriff say anything that he just walked onto these properties and fired randomly, or are they certain that maybe he did have some type of relationship with the victims at both crime scenes?
You know, they really didn't go into specifics about his relationships with the victims, what, if any, relationship he might have had with them. But they did point out a key piece of evidence, which they said that they do believe that Zelle was employed at one of the nurseries where this all happened today.
And you mentioned the 2 crime scenes. Are they looking at anywhere else in Half Moon Bay as a possible 3rd crime scene?
You know, right now they haven't discovered any, and they don't know.
They haven't discovered any. That's how they started the article too. Police came across 4 bodies in the street, realizing there was a shooting. Oh, nobody called the police. Nobody heard gunshots. Nobody else seen the bodies. It was an officer cruising down the street, just, hey, there's bodies in the road. Is that what happened?
Here at Sandy Hook Promise.
There's the kind of ads that get shown to me every day. It's either that, it's either how I should just never be allowed to have firearms, or how I should get the jabby jab. That's all the ads show me because of what I talk about. Moving forward, hooligans. So this next video we're going to show is about 2 minutes long, about 2.5 minutes. It's going to be with MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going after Antifa. This video is labeled Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Antifa are the ground troops of the Democrat Party. So we're going to watch this video really quick. I'm going to read through the chat for a second. Drop some ones if you're ready to go. I think when I start this video, I'm going to scooch away and go get some coffee really quick. Tab Blue, how come they didn't arrest the gun? I know, those bad guns out there, gotta do something about it. These people in the White House, not smart. Alright, I'm seeing the ones in the chat. Let's get her started, hooligans.
Marjorie Taylor Greene represents Georgia in the Congress. She joins
Georgia.
Congressman, this happened in your state. I'm just amazed by how little we know. There's this militia that kind of floats around America, and when needed, they show up and start burning buildings and flipping over police cars, and no one knows who they are or who's paying for this. How can that be?
Well, Tucker, you laid it out just perfectly. And I think, honestly, America is sick and tired of Antifa. Look at what they've done over years now. Just from 2020, they're responsible for nearly $2 billion in damage and many people dead. But the war is against the police. And the reason why is because Antifa is the ground troops of the Democrat Party. Not only are they the ground troops, they breed them, they raise them, and then they bail them out of jail when they get arrested. But they never get prosecuted. And that's because, well, we know the truth. It's the Democrats in control, and it's the establishment, and it's the unelected bureaucrats that make no apologies for their support of Antifa. Well, it's time to do something about Antifa, and that's why I'm going to introduce legislation to declare Antifa domestic terrorist, because they need to be taken apart. We need to investigate exactly who they are, who funds them, and then we need to make sure that whenever they come out and erupt in violence, attacking police officers and attacking businesses in cities like my city, in Atlanta, in Georgia, we need to make sure that they're arrested and charged with domestic terrorism charges, just like the GBI did this past weekend. Enough of Antifa. They are not the anti-fascists. They are the fascists. And they always show up and they defend Democrat causes. Not only do they attack police, but they defend the drag queens, targeting our children with drag queen story time. They go after
that stuff is so bad.
And demand they get vaccinated and wear masks during the so-called pandemic. But enough of Antifa. We've had it with them, and it's time to do something about it.
Yeah, that was kind of a tell, I would say. This is the anarchist group that's for vax mandates. Tell me how that works. Is that in the anarchist catechism?
Tucker cracks me up.
Yeah,
no,
just
I don't
like
think
they're
so.
environmentalists trying to stop a police training center. We're not buying it.
It's too funny. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia.
And that's what I was saying yesterday when we were covering the article and the video of Antifa being in Atlanta, and we watched the video where the reporter went into the Forest Defenders camp, which is that group of Antifa, and how it just simply doesn't make sense, because 2 years ago the big issue was that officers are not trained well enough. So we need to send in social workers the next time somebody's holding a bank at gunpoint or something like that. But now Atlanta is building a police center for training, for detailed training. They're talking about even building a false city to have a higher quality of training and stuff, which is not unheard of. The military does that all the time. So here they are trying to train officers to be better officers, or at least we can assume that. And here we are with Antifa now against that. They don't want police training, because how will they cry about all the police shootings if the police aren't accidentally shooting and killing people because they have proper training now? Well, they need job security, so they got to make sure these officers are not trained so they can still exist and have doughheads believe that they are actually anti-fascist when they're reality just fascists themselves, pretty much in every way possible. And it really kills me when people are like, well, it's just an idea. Half of the nonsense that people consider political correctness is just an idea. And really, it's the same thing as saying mandates or community guidelines or anything like that. It's communism, all flowered up and pretty as justification for mistreating us and abusing our rights. That's actually what it is. And we're just participating because most of how we handle life now is done digitally. I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday because everyone's complaining about the woke companies, how Facebook or whoever will ban you if you don't believe the woke ideas. But what I have not heard, what do you guys think is going to happen when your electric company feels the same way? When your water company feels the same way for people who have to pay for water where they live? Or your internet provider? You're not third party. You're not, using pronouns and stuff. So we're going to just cut your power off because you're a right-wing extremist. Wait till that happens. What are you going to do about that? We're letting this slide downhill so bad, and nobody's doing anything about it. It's in the schools. It's at people's jobs. It's all over social media. We are being governed by communism, and we're just letting it slide because it's happening electronically. And we're like, well, we don't need to be on the phone anyway. Well, we don't need to be on Facebook anyway. It's not a big deal. Wait till you can't feed your kids. Wait till you don't have power in your house because you're not woke enough. That's where this stuff's going, because we are letting political correctness shape the way we behave and live as Americans. Anyways. So we're going to continue on with the Antifa theme. Let's see here. So next we're going to be covering a video from Fox News talking about CNN can always be counted on to excuse Antifa. And we're also going to hear from a former Antifa member. This video is about 3.5 minutes long. Let us go ahead and get her started.
Gabriel Vidales used to be a former member of Antifa, and he's the author of Behind the Black.
I don't believe in former commies, but we'll go ahead and watch this anyways.
CNN downplay the violence. Is that good for Antifa?
Of course it's good for Antifa. I can always count on CNN to act as a professional PR team to excuse Antifa violence. Because time and time again, they'll say, oh, Antifa is just an idea, it's just an ideology, it's not real. And then when they get caught and you see Antifa on the street, it wasn't that violent. Or sometimes they even say they're the good guys. And this guy, David Peisner, he's played a little clip about him talking about that there wasn't any violence except from police. Well, they were tackling protesters. Okay, why were they tackling protesters? Was it probably because one of those same type of people?
High Plains Drifter, now he's CIA.
Or was it
I totally believe that.
Those Antifa activists were attacking police cruisers. They don't want to say it because they really don't want to fight Antifa. Because to fight Antifa would be to admit that they were lying for 5-6 years now. When they first praised Antifa back in 2015 when candidate Trump first announced office.
Yeah, and the summer of love rolls around. They've been downplaying it for many, many years. When you were inside Antifa and you were a member, what was the end game for them?
You know, the end game for Antifa can vary by collective, but there is always this overarching like anti-fascism. But you have to ask yourself, what does anti-fascism mean? Well, when they define it, they don't mean Nazis, they don't mean KKK, they mean basically Western ideals as well as democracy itself. They don't like the Democratic Party, they don't like the Republican Party, they want to destroy America. I mean, just in 2021, when President Biden, right before he got inaugurated, Antifa was targeting Democratic campaign offices. They don't care, this is the crazy thing about me, because you would think that CNN or other mainstream outlets would be united with all other Americans against Antifa, because Antifa is an anti-American movement. Yet for some reason, they just want to excuse it, pretend it doesn't exist. But let me tell you, the longer we don't acknowledge the threat of Antifa, the more they will grow and the harder it will be to fight them.
Yeah, I think Antifa roughed up CNN's headquarters in Atlanta last year, and now CNN's saying, don't worry about it. So why did you leave, or did you get kicked out? I mean, you look pretty normal. Was it because you had a traditional hairstyle?
That's a little offensive.
No, I mean, this is over 10 years ago. I mean, one of the reasons I started feeling ostracized by a lot of my friends at the time was because I had the audacity to go out and find ideas that were separate from my own. I remember reading about Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell and not liking them at the time. But then I went back to my friends and I told them, hey, check out these ideas. Well, they just called me a capitalist pig. And it was a repeated cycle of any time I tried to venture out of this sticker type ideology, all of a sudden they started kicking me out, pushing me out. So I just said, I have enough. I want to go and explore and find more than this echo chamber that they created for themselves.
All right, capitalist pig is a compliment, in my opinion, but glad you got out of there, and I'm glad you're sharing your story. Thank you so much, Gabriel.
We've seen that so many times, especially when the 2020 riots were going on. It was almost a daily basis. You would watch one of them speak out and be like, hey, we should do this. And you'd watch that group just eat that person alive. Like they ain't been hanging out all week, smoking meth together, bonding. Oh, no, you got ideas? No, we're going to have to cut you out of the group, label you a Nazi and a racist and all this other stuff. People are off their rocker, way off their rocker. So next, we're going to be covering a video talking about the classified documents that were discovered at Mike Pence's home. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more information, because KJP, she just simply refers us to people that we don't hear speak live, which doesn't do us any justice. So hopefully this will give us a little bit of context. This video is somewhere around 7 minutes long. Just give me a second here. I'm gonna read through the chat really quick. "24/7 look normal." Yeah, I thought that was. You can't say that stuff nowadays. You look normal. What does that mean? Hold up. What is it about me that you're approving of? Yeah, I don't know. And really, we shouldn't be so sensitive like that. But because, again, our environment is so toxic right now, it's no wonder that, people are losing their marbles left and right. It's hard to sit here and be calm while you're in the oven. Mr. Beansy Beans. This guy is a POS. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard no former Antifa. I don't know. It is what it is. All right, hooligans, let's get it started.
We are just now learning for the first time that former Vice President Mike Pence has discovered classified documents at his home in Indiana.
I think that's really interesting that he discovered them, like he didn't put them there.
Which would be yesterday. that, or last week, excuse me, that he discovered documents bearing classified markings in his Carmel, Indiana home on January 16th from his time as vice president. Following the revelations that classified documents from President Biden's tenure as vice president were found at the Penn Biden Center think tank and at his home in Wilmington, Delaware, the vice president's team conducted searches of Pence's Indiana home and political advocacy group Advancing American Freedom Office.
Wow.
So, Mark, I'm going to come to you first on this as I'm going through. 2 letters Pence team sent to the National Archives happened on January 18th and January 22nd. FoxNews.com digital has obtained this document. Let me click on it here. Dear Ms. McClure, as Vice President Pence's designated representative to the National Archives, I write to request your assistance with collecting and transferring to the custody of the National Archives an additional set of vice presidential records. The additional records appear to be a small number of documents bearing classified markings that were inadvertently boxed and transported to the personal home of the former VP at the end of the last administration. Pence was unaware of the existence of sensitive, classified documents at his personal residence. Vice President Pence understands the high importance of protecting sensitive and classified information and stands ready and willing to cooperate fully with the National Archives and any appropriate inquiry. Mark.
I'm sure what happened is when he heard the news about the Vice President Biden having some documents inadvertently, that he immediately ordered his staff to go and make sure that there was nothing, and they came across something. We don't know what it was. We don't know. For example, Biden had TSSCI documents, which is that's a different level of seriousness. So, and those are things you can't easily transfer. Secret, confidential documents are a different story. So we don't know what that is, but I think it's great that he was so responsible to check that.
These people are just running around with government secrets, private information and whatnot, sensitive information, just laying all over the place willy-nilly.
President Obama, Molly.
That stuff should be treason. How many people have been in their house? Were they showing these documents to their buddies while they're drinking at night, or what?
Made about who can declassify and document so on and so forth. That was during the Hillary Clinton.
Well, and also, right.
Her face looks heavily manipulated. Not hers.
We have multiple issues here. One is that there's so many classified documents going around that there are, I mean, I bet Mike Pence will not even be the last person who was a vice president or president to make this kind of.
You guys think they'll find more classified documents in the coming days? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no.
But really, this entire thing.
Press 3 for come on, man.
Even what Biden is going through is somewhat common. President Obama had paperwork disputes with the National Archives that are ongoing. What really made this whole thing different is when the National Archives and the Department of Justice took a
betrayed by corrupt scumbags. That's what they're going to say. They're going to come on TV. They're going to say Trump put those documents in Walter's stuff and in Pence's stuff. That he was doing that. It's his fault.
Hoisted by their own petard here, where they now have to deal with the fact that there are problems with every former president and vice president.
Real quickly,
that they're handling differently.
Emily, I'm going to come to you with this because now we're all being able to read this document via Fox News Digital, and we thank them for their great reporting as always. Following press reports of classified documents at the personal home of President Biden, out of an abundance of caution, which is what you said, Mark Thiessen, on Monday, January 16th, Vice President Pence engaged outside counsel with experience in handling classified documents to review records stored in his personal home. Emily, the wording of this is so...
Yeah, big fella. Flight logs need to be released. Definitely.
So I do want to know, did any of them have clearances? But what we don't know from...
If you're paying over...
from Biden, at least we haven't known, is what past did his attorneys have with handling classified documents? From Pence, we get that. From Biden, I don't know that we have.
And it's my understanding the DOJ explicitly approved the handling by his attorneys to do so. I note another remarkable distinction between both, which is that on January 19th, the DOJ requested direct possession of the documents from the ones found in Vice President Pence's home. So that's 1 day later. The DOJ says, give it all back.
And
how many days did they say? Exactly.
Months.
Yeah.
Weeks and weeks and weeks they were allowed to stay in that messy pile in the garage, in the study in Delaware. It's a remarkable distinction. 2 minutes into this breaking news, I wonder what else we're going to learn, that departure and the distinction.
And the difference between Mike Pence's statement and Joe Biden's statement, I have no regrets, there's no there. There's no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, that he took it seriously. He went and engaged a counsel to do this, cooperated with the Justice Department, did this. Joe Biden says, nothing wrong with what I did.
So talk to me about the politics.
No regrets.
You know, you have a man who's about to give his State of the Union. I don't know how this doesn't come up. But anyway, maybe he'll try to do it. Maybe he'll bring up Vice President Pence, and then everybody can read for themselves at how differently they were handled. But then you've got the announcement of what he wants to do in 2024, and now
this dude scares me right here. I don't know, something about the manipulation all happening right here freaks me out. Was
that supposed to be the declaration right there, so the president can skip it?
I think that here's the thing, that he after the election, when they didn't have an electoral disaster, and he actually turned in, unfortunately, the best performance of a president in the first midterm election since JFK, except for George W. Bush after 9/11. Everyone was expecting there to be a disaster, and so they were all getting ready to push him out. And then he did so much better that all of that got ground to a halt. And now, with this going on, those gears might start moving again a little bit. If this becomes a big scandal, and the people who wanted to push him out and get a real liberal in there who's not even going to pretend to be a moderate, that might start coming up again now.
All right. Well, the breaking news this hour with Vice President Pence finding through his attorneys, outside counsel, those who were, in his words and in his statement, experienced handling classified documents, have found in his Indiana home some documents as well. And so they will go forward, have turned those over to the National Archives, and we'll continue to cover the news as it breaks, wherever it breaks, whichever next place that they choose.
Yeah, okay, I got it. I got it. I know you're trying to drag that out there, but that's enough information out of you. I don't know. That person scares me. All right, hooligans, we're coming to the last part of the show here. We're going to be talking about some technology that is actually here in Michigan at the airport. We're going to watch a very short video, literally a short from YouTube, and then we're going to go through this document that explains what we're witnessing from the short that we're going to watch. The headline is, "Does this technology cross the line?" The article's title is, "The world's first parallel reality experience is now live for departing and connecting Delta customers at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport." So that's what we're going to cover right now. Give me a second, hooligans. So I'm going to post the link to all you guys for the article, and then we're going to watch the video, and then we'll cover the article. Alright, hooligans, let's see if I can make this work. It's going to be a little cut off. I don't normally show shorts, and we're just going to make the best of it.
You can't see it? No. That's so cool.
Hold on a second.
And now it's my... This is Delta's parallel reality experience. Watch what happens when you walk through here and go up to that gate. It scans your face, and when you look up there, you'll get your flight info, but only from your point of view. I can't see it. You can't see it? No.
That's so cool.
Pass me the phone.
Yeah, here.
And now it's my info.
Are you able to read his stuff up there at all or no?
No, I can see a picture of an airplane. That's it.
This is Delta's parallel reality.
So I know it's really small and probably hard to see, but they're like scanning their ticket on a device and then standing and viewing a screen, and the screen has like a camera kind of to detect you, identify you, and where you're standing, and somehow with your naked eyeballs, as far as I could tell, you can see the screen differently than the person standing next to you. Ted, scans your face? No, thank you. Yeah, so we're going to go into this article. It details what exactly we just witnessed there. And there's lots of claims that this doesn't like take your personal information and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Because, you know, airports are pretty much, you're forfeiting your privacy if you go to an airport. Those are like heavily monitored in every single way. I don't know how people who fly airplanes regularly even tolerate life. Because I've only flown an airplane. I've never flown it myself. I've only flown on an airplane 4 times or something. And it was before all the political correctness came in and you had to like give them your pronouns and stuff. So I couldn't imagine dealing with it now. I can't stand it. But we're going to go through this article so you guys can know in detail what this technology is. I also have thought up some ideas of how this can affect us in other ways other than just being at the airport. Alright, so the link that I provided to you guys should take you to this article here. The article is titled, World's First Ever Parallel Reality Experience is Now Live for Departing and Connecting Delta Customers at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. The parallel reality display allows up to 100 customers to each see their personalized flight information on a single digital screen, all at the same time. But it's written weird there because you can't see each other's information. Each customer who opts in can see only their flight information. The article says that they think this tech helps customers navigate the airport with ease and eliminates the need to search for their specific flight among rows on the departure board. The article states that the customer can opt in the voluntary parallel reality experience by scanning a digital or paper boarding pass for an airport journey that is intuitive. I think that's just flamboyant language. Enjoyable and seamlessly connected. The proprietary multi-view pixel technology within parallel reality displays can detect different colored light to each of the many viewing zones, allowing multiple people simultaneously looking at the same display to each see their own unique personalized content. Customers must opt in at the registration kiosk to engage with the experience. Once you opt in, a private viewing zone is created at your location and the display detects relevant flight information to the zone. The article says an overhead sensor detects your presence and location using anonymous non-biometric object detection. Wink. Yeah, right. But then they mention the sensor sees you as an object without recognizable features. As you move around, the non-biometric overhead sensor continually shifts your private zone to your new location. So you're being tracked, but you're not being tracked, is like what they're saying. This allows you to see your own personalized content as you move within the viewing area. Once you exit the parallel reality experience viewing area, you must opt in again at the registration counter to see your personalized flight information again. The article claims that the parallel reality technology uses anonymous non-biometric object detection to direct customers' flight information to their unique viewing zones. These sensors do not detect facial features, it says, but then goes on to say the parallel reality experience can be applied in any public setting where individuals would benefit from seeing unique, personalized content tailored to their needs and preferences. Future applications of this technology could include stadiums, shopping centers, entertainment venues, and more. The problem I see with this technology, or at least the problems I thought of as I was reading it, is that we experience things digitally together, right? Together, we witness this. Just like right now, all of us are digitally, good Lord, let's get it done. Chicken bacon, chicken bacon, chicken bacon, chicken bacon, bacon, chicken bacon, chicken bacon, chicken bacon, chicken. Okay, let's see if I can speak now. Right now, we are all connected digitally. We're communicating, we're watching the same content roll out. Now, what if what I'm watching is not like what Kimberly's watching? And that's not the same as what Ted is watching. That's not the same what Relic is watching. And it's not the same thing that Betrayed by Corrupt Scumbags is watching. So whatever one of you sees, maybe you're offended and you report it. Maybe the other guy likes it, right? We're all going through this separately. Well, that's kind of confusing. Well, so is everything else the government gives to us. It all blurs the lines of reality. So if that was to happen, say I'm using the internet and I'm viewing my personal virtual reality experience, right? What if I become abused through this experience? What if I'm being mistreated, my rights are being stepped on, and whatnot? Things that we actually experience on the internet today, right? The whole reason we have a reporting system at all. How will I prove it? If you were sitting in the same room with me watching this screen, you wouldn't see what I see. How could I prove to you what I'm experiencing? Well, I couldn't. Well, then how would I prove it to anyone else? Well, I couldn't. So if I write customer service and they're like, well, these are our community guidelines, this is how it goes. Oh, well. They're blurring more lines. They're blurring more lines for us. They're trying to make it, I think it's because we have strength in numbers, and as long as everything can be viewed at the same time digitally in large masses where we can kind of check each other's receipts and stuff, they don't like that. They don't like unity because we could fight back. And they're trying to just separate us into little pods. I said this when we were covering the convoy. Eventually, everything will be done in virtual reality. We will sit inside of our homes alone. We will work online. We will go to school online. We will socialize online. And we will just basically be stationary. We'll have Amazon and Walmart delivering food and goods to our door, and we'll never go outside. There'll be heavy restrictions for the law to come get you if you're out in person. And then everything else will be controlled by community guidelines. And you will have nothing and you will like it. And that's where this is going. That's how this is shaping up. This is going to diminish unity on digital platforms. And that's just my thoughts, and I could be totally wrong, right? I could be totally wrong, but I've seen a lot of things, especially since doing this job, and this kind of stuff scares me. Virtual reality involved, wearing a giant headset and all this. Now you can just stand there with your naked eyes and see stuff that no one else can see. They're blurring the lines of reality. Well, you beautiful hooligans, that is all I had today for today's show. I'm going to give you guys my spiel, and then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I appreciate you guys being here. I feel like it's been awesome today. All right, here's my spiel. Please go to jeffmaclive.com. On the homepage, you can find all of my links listed, so you can find the link to join Gilded for free. Gilded is currently the best way to receive notifications for when and where we go live. Every single time we go live, you'll also receive notifications for if there's important updates. Please download Gilded, click the link, and join us. You do not have to speak to anybody if you don't want to. You don't have to participate in the shenanigans, but when you come to my lives and you say, oh, YouTube just messaged me and now I'm an hour and a half late to the show and I really hate when that happens, I'm providing a way for you to get around that. You just have to participate, and it's free. In the Gilded, there is a news board to keep you up to date with everything going on. There's tons and tons of hooligans to hang out with every day, all day, to chat it up about whatever you want, really. Also on the JeffMAC Live homepage, you can find the links to the merch store if you would like to grab merch. We have shirts, hoodies, and stickers. Everything is displayed in black and white. But if you don't want to wear it in black and white, but you find something you like, if you click on it, you can see all the available colors that item comes in. Also on the JeffMAC Live homepage, you can find links to PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Stripe, Zelle, and Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to support what I do. There's also a link to the Amazon wish list that I try to populate every day as much as I can, add things on there. that people would like to send me. It's really easy to use. Anything you purchase from the wish list will be sent directly to me without having to request address information or anything like that. It's really easy to use. Also on the JeffMAC Live homepage, you can find the membership program links. There's memberships for YouTube, Gilded, Discord, Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. That's my spiel, guys. Let's get ready for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, hooligans, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you lovely hooligans. I appreciate you guys being here. That is all we have for today. There's no other live scheduled as far as I know. Of course, if we see crazy stuff, I'll probably go live because we got to cover that and keep everyone up to date. But as far as the schedule goes, this is all I had. Hopefully I'll see you guys on Gilded. I'm probably going to go from here to cutting up this live because there was a lot of things that I think Spotlight should be shined on. Afterwards, I'll be working on the website for you hooligans that are a part of JeffMacLive.com's community, because the community is up and running. Although the website is still considered under construction. So if you do go join the website and get the membership and everything so you can be a part of the community on jeffmaclive.com, there is some bugs, there is some things that are kind of quirky, and I am working on it on a daily basis, and I'm all by myself. So have a little grace if possible. If you do decide to join the community where it is completely uncensored and there is no one monitoring you or waiting to crack down on you because you're a free thinker, all of that is available at jeffmaclive.com. I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. I will see you tomorrow for another Coffee with Hooligans at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership program, or purchased any merch. I appreciate all of you, and I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.